What makes a person boring? I came here to be enlightened, not to be described. SMH. Haha, I wonder who all the boring people are. Having zero interests outside of work. What about having zero interest in work? That would describe me. What if your work is so many random things it's hard to explain, and when you do it sounds like you're a crackhead building to contact aliens? Then they ask the question, wow, what exactly is your job title? And it's honestly like 7 words long that describes 1/10 of what you actually do. When they only talk about other people, like talking about people is their only personality. My roommate is just like that. OMG. Don't get me started on Hi Monsieur. I heard about Hi Monsieur. Shady one, isn't he? Agreeing with everything you say but never offering anything unique. I have this problem and don't know how to deal with it. If you give me 10 minutes, I could come up with something. But by then the conversation has moved on, or perhaps it has stopped altogether. Even just writing this, I took some time to think if I wanted to comment, and then what did I want to say? I have the same thing. It's anxiety that people won't like what you say or think it's stupid, which will result in people liking you less. So your brain just doesn't give you anything until it finds a sentence that everyone will be happy with. When I drink, I seem to have the perfect words for everything and it's effortless. When I smoke, I get a bit anxious, so I tend to go even quieter. One thing that helped me was doing LSD and realizing this was a thing, and that I can't make everyone love me without sacrificing being myself. But that's obviously not for everyone. Talking about nothing but themselves. On the flip side, someone asking you so many questions that it feels like an interview. And when you try to turn the focus on them, they spike it right back. I'm guilty of this. It's due to lack of practice, a small degree of social awkwardness, and lack of sufficiently engaging responses from the other person. If they respond in a way that I can relate to, I have opinions, stories ready to share about myself. But if they give short responses, my tendency is to keep hunting around with endless follow-up questions, to the point where it starts to feel like an interrogation. My friends kindly pointed it out to me with this suggestion: how about after you ask a question, do you also answer your own question? Quote, it was a light bulb moment. It never occurred to me to answer my own question. Whoosh. Having their personality centered around one single thing, and only that thing. Potheads and crossfitters. I went to uni with someone who wore green t-shirts with the leaf on and drank Bob Marley energy drinks. I don't think I ever knew anything about him, other than he smoked weed. One-dimensional personalities. Like the always negative guy, the I only talk about work girl, or the all we do is talk about our pets or children couple. You get the gist. I think this is the best summary I've read on this thread so far. I'm just glad I didn't have to scroll far to see a job talker on the list. Like, no one cares about your work and the people at it. When they agree with everything you agree with, you need to have your own opinions. This salad is excellent. I hate this restaurant and I hate your stupid face, Sally. Sally loves salad. Silly. No sense of humor. Is this supposed to be a joke or something? Cause I'm not laughing. They said I'd never be a comedian. Well, they're not laughing now. Relying on other people to make all decisions. I think I should upvote this. Should I? I don't know. You tell me. Not being passionate about anything. I'm passionate about being unpassionate. Not recognizing when no one is interested in what they're talking about. This skill is one of the worst to learn, because you were always telling something you were excited about and realized no one else cared. I used to do this a lot with my wife. I'd find myself apologizing for boring her with stuff I was interested in when she was genuinely interested in actually listening to me. My exes hated the stuff I was passionate about, and it made me apologies for being interested in something. Honestly, a lot of it comes down to storytelling. I remember listening to one of my cousins tell a story, and I realized it was super boring, but I was super interested. So I started paying attention to the way she tells stories. I like to think people are more interested in what I have to say now, but also I've had a pretty crazy life so far, so there's a lot to talk about. What sort of approach did you observe with your cousin's storytelling? I've been told I tell good stories. Basically, you have to keep it short. progress linearly, understand which text is essential and which is merely fluff and filler. It's okay to tweak the truth a bit for efficiency's sake, but not to make someone else look bad. I'm a boring person. My brain is pretty much screaming in agony after reading this thread because I could relate to some parts but not to others. So I can't tell if I'm boring, not boring, or even half boring. That means you can be boring to one person and very interesting to be another. This is how it works, I guess. I've met people who everybody adored, but they seemed completely boring to me, not being able to have a meaningful conversation. I sometimes struggle with this. There are people I can talk to easily, without seemingly running out of things to say, ask. But if I feel I'm the one who has to initiate, I tend to get really wrapped up in my head about what to ask, say next, and then assume the other person must think I'm dull cause I can't chit-chat like a regular person. Then I see other people who can talk to anyone about anything and I'm like, was I sick the day they taught me? Talking like a normal person. Class at school. I have some similar problems here. I can initiate, but if the other person does not engage, well, here's an hour of awkward sitting and watching at cell phones. My dad used to always say this: if you're bored, you're boring. I used to hate it, but there's some truth that the people in this world who are interesting are people who can find wonder in any situation. And GT, if you're bored, you're boring. The agony and the irony, they're killing me. Woo. No creativity, no original ideas. Everything is predictable. Originality really is key. People with no hobbies, skills. I remember always struggling to answer those questions. What are your hobbies? And in hindsight, I was just super dull and barely living. What are you into now? Watching. No sense of humor and or sense of adventure. We all love a humorous adventurer. If you have utterly nothing in common with them, chances are you bore them just as much as they bore you. Tends to happen most with friends of a friend. I know this girl whose personality is essentially I only type in caps because it makes me seem crazy, haha xd. Her entire gimmick is that she's insane, shouts all the time and thinks that gore and murder is cool. I'm aware that it doesn't sound boring to yell, but after knowing her for almost a decade and it never changing, the whole thing just gets pretty tedious. I'm quite a boring person. I'm very talkative and have interests and hobbies that most other people don't have or can't relate with, so when I talk about them and in my mind I'm being very passionate, the other person listening is getting bored to death, especially because I'm very old school, so most people perceive my interest as mom, granny things, which just adds to the lame, boring vibe. Also, I am not comfortable being silent and sometimes keep talking for the sake of it. This one gets so boring even my boyfriend admits sometimes he gets sleepy listening to me talk like that, when they don't ever do anything spontaneous, and act as if anything different, unique is weird and embarrassing. Oof. This is the first one that's really got me. Also, nothing worse than someone asking or expecting me to do something out of my comfort zone like karaoke or dancing. The second you want me to do it, it creates this imaginary pressure to me, and even if I might do it on my own, I definitely want now. I get embarrassed way too easily at things that no one would consider embarrassing. This is an oddly specific response that resonated with me. I know what you mean by the imaginary pressure, and I also get embarrassed too easily. It almost feels like people are constantly testing you, and once they see you're not comfortable in your own skin, you've officially lost face and are socially worthless. People seem to be obsessed with proving that they are confident, outgoing, spontaneous, etc. About 50% of this thread is people that misunderstand what the word boring means, and comment on things that irritate him instead. I'm an avid Redditor. This isn't the only thing, but being so apathetic that you never express a real opinion or initiate a conversation, activity. The guy who says, I guess I like all music, if you ask what music he likes. The guy who says, I don't really follow politics, if you mention literally any current event, no matter how apolitical. The guy who always says, whatever you want to eat is fine. The guy who watches the TV in a trance when a football game is on, but doesn't get excited if his team is winning or losing because, I don't really follow sports. The guy who has no favorite books or movies or video games, who doesn't have any hobbies aside from playing the same video game or drinking the same The same bar, the guy who's never got anything to say, positive or negative, about anything around hi monsieur, everything and everyone are fine. Quote, he kind of likes stuff, I guess, in that he doesn't particularly hate it, but you also don't know if he is capable of hating anything because he never branches out of a narrow range of basic things. Or if he does, it's never, wow, that's for introducing me to that, I like it, or, OMG, never expose me to that, it's awful. You show him a movie that doesn't star Adam Sandler or involve explosions, and it's IDK. It was kinda weird, I guess, haha. This guy likes to paint himself as easygoing, chill, and lacking drama, but in reality, he is boring. He confuses a lack of tension with positivity. This doesn't mean that liking music, books, politics, sports, movies, or drama makes one interesting, but it at least gives a person something to talk about. If everything is IDK fine, the ability to converse, connect, and expand is dead. I wish I could say that most of these guys are heavy stoners and are just too high to be expressive, but I have met plenty that have never touched a drug in their life. Nice description. So, a guy with a lack of passion will be probably a boring person. You have to find your passion. Yes, not wanting to do anything. What I want to do is always boring to others. You're boring if you don't post naked selfies on Reddit. Smooth. I'm a fan. Spending every bloody second of every minute of their life on Facebook, as opposed to Reddit. Precisely. When the only thing you have in common to talk about is school, work. Boring is subjective. What's fun for me is boring to you, so don't come at me and say me playing video games and watching anime is boring, as that's what I like. People whose only activity in life is smoking weed and drinking alcohol. Talking about smoking weed and drinking alcohol. Talking about how high or drunk they were, and wondering when the next time it is that they will smoke weed or drink alcohol, while also being very loud about all of it, in public, in front of anyone. Probably spending all day posting self-hating comments and posts on Reddit.